This should have six. He has 10. Five is open because I hear it. That's good. Six.
Okay, so you'll let us know.
Ask if they can hear. They ask if they can hear us online.
Can you hear us online?
Yes.
Please put it in it.
I'm sorry.
I'm the licensed asbestos inspector, and I do water.
Nice to meet you,
Nice to meet
David.
you. Those environmental guys who are always dirty.
But y'all matter so much. We asked, one of the, for the owner or the whatever, we asked one of them to speak. Somebody's gotta say it to a mic. Grace, can you ask one of them to speak?
Yep. Hi. I'm talking to the Zoom. Could we please have either Paul Pregno or Philip Roche speak into the Zoom so we can make sure we can hear you for the panel?
Hi, this is a test. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine. Thank you.
This is Paul Prejean. You got me?
We can hear you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, really? That's good, that's good. And then, like, what if you like to start at 9, 8, and also. So, but I just, you know, it's like, it's so kind of, but it's. Right, then But, right now, we ready?
Ready?
Let's do it.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us today in person for this conversation on environmentally complex demolitions. My name is Grace Gunn. I'm with the Mayor's Office of Health and Human Services, and I will be your moderator today. I am pleased to be here and to be accompanied by Commissioner Ige of the Chicago Department of Public Health, Commissioner Hopkins with the Department of Buildings, and we also have John Stingler with the CDPH. He is one of our CDPH environmental engineers, one of our subject matter experts. Along with us today, we also have supporting this event to happen today as we shifted into a hybrid model to support community needs. We have Maribel Chavez Torres, our CDPH Managing Deputy Commissioner, Grace Adams, who is one of our great project administrators and managers in CDPH, Nefsa Hyatt Brown, who is our Director of Public Affairs in the Department of Buildings, and Sarah Mathers, who is our Chief of Community Engagement in the Mayor's Office. Thank you all for supporting us. And we also can't go without acknowledging Alderman Lopez's support for this event to be in person. And thank you to the Alderman staff for showing up and helping this event happen. And of course, we can't go without the support of our tech from Fleet and Facilities. We really appreciate you all for shifting so quickly and putting this together so that we could host this meeting in person along with the virtual component. We really appreciate the shift and for bringing us all together today. So I would like to get us started by just doing an overview of the agenda and a brief overview of our meeting objectives. So for our agenda today, I'm going to go ahead and move us along in the presentation. I've already given our welcome. We'll have some presentations from the Department of Public Health. We'll also have a presentation from the Department of Buildings, along with some background on the site. Along with that, we'll also have a presentation from the demolition contractor, and we will then go into community questions and comments. Also a part of this panel today who are with us virtually is Paul Pregno. He is with the Brandenburg Industrial Service Company project manager. And then we also have Philip Roche. He is a part of the property owner team. He is the NRG plant manager. I know we already heard from them, but I want to give both of them the opportunity to say hello, and we could start with Paul.
Yes, hello, this is Paul Prejean, project manager for Brandenburg, and looking forward to today's discussion.
Thank you. Moving on to Philip.
Good evening, folks. My name is Phil Roush. I'm the Midwest Generation Plant Manager for the Fisk generating station, responsible for the safe operation of those units. Thank you.
Thank you both. So moving us right along, and also hello to everyone that's joining us virtually. We also appreciate your presence. We have over 50 people with combined virtual and in-person components. So we really appreciate this community showing up today and wanting to be educated about what's going on in the environment around you. So moving on to our meeting objectives. Did it move? I can't see it. I'm sorry. Okay, great. So today we are going over, it's really an informational to help the community understand about the pre-demolition inspections performed by the Chicago Department of Public Health, along with the Department of Buildings for this partial demolition. We also will provide information about the method that we are using to demolish the area and plans to protect the community from potential environmental and health impacts. We will then respond to questions and concerns about the demolition process. And so for some background, the site owner has submitted 5 demolition permit applications to the city, which are being reviewed by the Department of Buildings and the Chicago Department of Public Health. This site is consideredly environmentally complex due to the proximity to the Chicago River, past use as a coal plant, and a secondary consideration. There are 13 total structures included in the permit application, none of which include the main powerhouse station. And with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Hopkins for the Department of Buildings.
Good evening. I am Marlene Hopkins, Department of Buildings Commissioner. Thank you for joining us to discuss the partial demolition of the Fisk generating station. For environmentally complex demolitions like this one, my department works in continuous coordination with the Chicago Department of Public Health to ensure every phase of the demolition is executed safely and responsibly. This collaborative approach reflects the lessons we've learned from past projects and our commitment to prioritizing the safety of Chicagoans, especially those living in communities with existing environmental challenges. We take our responsibilities seriously, not just to ensure compliance with the building codes, but to protect both the skilled workers completing this project and, most importantly, the residents who call this community home. Next slide. The Fisk plant provided power for over 100 years as a coal-fired electric generating station before shutting down in 2012. The current owners, Midwest Generation, which is a subsidiary of NRG Energy, acquired the plant in 1999. At its peak, the site provided power to roughly 1 million homes. Additionally, as this is the second partial demolition the Department of Buildings has seen at this site. The first was the fly ash silo, which received approved demolition permits on September 16th of 2024 and was completed on September 24th of 2024. Next slide. The site address is 1111 West Cermak Road. The demolition contractor is Brandenburg Industrial Service Company. And the demolition time frame is anticipated to be 2 months, weather depending. The Department of Buildings requires a series of items during this process that we must review. The first is a structural condition report, which is critical for sites such as this with limited activity to determine any structural conditions that could alter the demolition plan and or process. The structures in the report were found to be in satisfactory condition. We also require a safety and operation plan, which, similar to the structural condition report, must be stamped, signed, and sealed by a licensed architect or structural engineer in Illinois. It is also acceptable for the site operation plan to be prepared by the demolition contractor. Next slide. There are 13 structures to be demolished, separated into the following groups: stack ducting with piping and conduit, a dual conveyance system, a metal cleaning tank, an oil water separator, an overflow tank, a fly ash silo, an activated carbon silo, a barge unloader with trash rate conveyor, some garages, small above ground storage tanks, a dewatering system, numerous catwalks, and slag piping. Next slide, which should detail the permits information. So the 13 structures are separated into 5 groups. These groups correspond with the submitted and filed demolition permit applications, and the numbers are cited below each group. Next slide. Next slide.
I'm sorry. It's showing. We're on number 2.
What's up next?
We're demolition structure, groups number 1, and
Oh, next slide, because it's the 5 groups. So group 3,
You want me to go through all of them?
you want to go back? So go back to group 1.
Okay. So on group 1.
Okay, group 2, which shows the structures that are associated with that permitting group.
Group 3.
Group 3. Group 4. And group 5. Next slide. This is not a demolition by implosion, meaning no explosives will be used. The mechanical demolition technique for this site utilizes skidsters and hydraulic excavators with numerous attachments. The grapple is one of the attachments. A hydraulic breaker is another attachment, and there is a processor attachment. In addition, there's a skidster and a front end loader. So this is a mechanical demolition. There are no explosives being utilized. And at this time, I would like to thank you, and I will pass it over to my colleague, Commissioner Dr. Ige.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So I represent the Department of Public Health. Our interest is health. So when an application, so 5 applications for demolition submitted to Commissioner Hopkins or the Department of Building, they sent it to us to review, and we reviewed and said it's a complex demolition. So we are the ones who designate this demolition as complex. And we already said the reason why, which is because it is close to the river. We want to be sure nothing dangerous is getting into the river. Number 2, because of its past use where coal was involved, the combustion of coal is a concern for us. So those are the 2 reasons why we say this is complex, because there is a potential public health impact. There are 2 things that reassure me. 1, this is not a demolition by implosion. So dust production is expected to be minimal. There are no explosives used. So dust is always a concern for us in public health. The other things that are concerns for us in public health when we're bringing down buildings is lead and asbestos. So those are the things that we look out for. Next slide. So the designation of environmentally complex is done by the health department because of our interest in public health, the health of the public. And I have explained the 2 reasons why we're interested in this particular demolition, and we have tagged it as environmentally complex, proximity to the waterway, and past use as a coal plant. Next slide. So when the application is submitted to us, there are a few things that we look out for. Asbestos. Asbestos must be abated before the building starts coming down. So that has been completed. Number 2, any hazardous waste must be removed before you start bringing things down. We don't want things getting into the water, and we don't want things getting into the air. So that has also been completed. Inspect for lead. Lead is usually in the paint. So we check before this demolition, if there's any chipping paint, etc. That has been inspected and completed before the demolition happens. Recycle and reuse at least 50% of uncontaminated construction and demolition debris. We want to be good stewards of the environment. So if something can be reused, we want it to be reused, but that is after the demolition. So the things that happen before and the things that happen after the demolition or during the demolition, things that can be salvaged, so should be salvaged. Next slide. So dust. By far, this is what you are most concerned about. We get tons of questions. There is not a single day that I don't get an email about somebody worried about dust. So it is incumbent upon me to make sure that dust is not getting into community and causing concern. So dust will be controlled. We have a lot of experience doing this. We know that there have been histories when things have gone awry. Those histories have been related to use of explosive and use of implosion. And the city has determined that we will no longer allow demolition to be done by explosives or implosion so that we can control dust. So there will be no explosive, there will be no implosion. It is a manual block by block kind of mechanical wrecking. Now, how do we ensure that we are tracking if there is too much dust in the air? It is through air monitors. There are specific grade of monitors that must be used that is authorized to track if there is dust getting into the air. The four cardinal points, north, south, east, west, around the premises, it will collect continuous measurements and monitoring of data every 15-minute intervals. For those who have reached out to us and said, we want to see what it looks like, we've shared that with you. So you see it's tons of data, tracking data per minute. Every 15-minute interval, we're checking how much dust is in the air. That is how we monitor, and this is based on the EPA requirements. Monitors are at fixed positions, upwind, downwind, to ensure that wind directions is not impacting the readings. It must be unobstructed view, so nothing is blocking the air from getting to the monitor, so we're getting accurate reading. And we usually show you the locations of the monitor, so you see how it is placed. There is one weather station that will be used to measure wind direction, speed, and temperature. When we send the reports to those who are interested in it, it provides all the data, the wind speed, the weather, the temperature, for each reading. That is how much detail is collected. Dust suppression efforts generally consist of water misting and spraying devices. So you break, you wet, you break, you wet, you wet, you break. That is how we prevent dust from happening. But let's say there is some dust, we don't want it to exceed the particular threshold where it starts to cause a health problem. Next slide. So water hoses and dust buses is what we use. Now, this is what the dust bus looks like. So sometimes people see this at a distance and think it is dust. This is why we show you the photos. It is not dust, it is fine water mist. And it is coming from the water buses that is being sprayed as the buildings come down. This is what it looks like. If you're looking, see the second picture, the dust bus. If you're looking at it from the ground level, it looks like dust. It is water mist. So we show you this photo so that when you see it, you're not alarmed. It is water mist and it is not dust. So it can be elevated from the ground up and it can be from top down as well, so that we're getting the dust from all angles. Next slide. Department of Buildings and Department of Public Health, we are twins in this process. We are always together. If our inspector is not there, DOB inspector is there, but our inspectors are both there. So when people ask me, our inspectors there, it is not just me. There is my inspector and there is a DOB inspector on site during demolition. That is what we have committed to do. Before demolition, to make sure all requirements and controls are in place, they will be on site every day during demolition, active demolition hours, Monday to Friday, 10 to 7 to, what time? 7:30 to 4. We don't have overtime hours. So yes, 7:30 to 4. And they observe the demolition, they are on site. So we reassure our community we're there with our partners. DOB and CDPH have full authority. If they observe something, they can flag it for us. If we observe something, they can flag it for us. So 2 inspectors on site every time, every day. That is the agreement. They both have authority to stop any work and correct issues as needed. Correcting issues is where we focus. If there is a problem, we want to identify it and fix it. If it cannot be fixed or they refuse it to fix it, then things escalate. But if we identify something, we want to fix it and say, hey, no, dust bus, water, more water, clean this up. They do it, we're fine. They don't do it, we have a problem. Next slide. So we are going to pass this to the contractor so they can give you more details. I have shared with you what we look out for. Then you will hear from them what they actually do. And we will again be on site to be sure that they are doing what they are supposed to do. Over to Brandenburg.
All right, you hear me? This is Paul Pujan with Brandenburg, project manager.
Yep, we can hear
Um,
you.
Okay, so there is a slide deck, if they can go ahead and get that going. So as already been discussed, there's 5 permits submitted for this work, and it's grouped as it was previously shown. The work, as it was kind of described, is all mechanical. It's going to be primarily the taller structures like the conveyors, the silos, barge unloader. These will be done. We'll bring in some cranes. We've already performed the engineering analysis for this, and it'll be a systematic removal in sections. We'll bring, say, the high angle conveyor, the barge unloader, we'll bring that down in sections, down to ground level. And at that point, we use our hydraulic excavators with shears to process the material so it can be loaded out into trucks and sent to recycling centers. So I can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is basically talking about the, all the various structures that we'll be demoing. Next slide. So everything back starting in about April, we started reviewing the equipment and the structures. We've had the engineering analysis done and submitted to the city that everything is good for demolition. All the chemical and universal waste was removed. The universal waste includes things like light bulbs, any chemical like spray paint, things of that nature. That's all been removed and disposed of. Our engineer from was on site and gave us a letter, stamped letter saying structures are sound. All the asbestos was removed by Brandenburg, and we finished that work in March. And everything was evaluated for the presence of lead. And so these will be, anything that was identified will be segregated and not contaminating other materials. Next slide. So as we mentioned, the controlled demolition, primarily it's going to be use of laborers working out of manless, and we'll be torch cutting using cranes. And then as we bring the higher structures down at that point, then the shear excavator will be able to take the remaining structure down to grade. We're estimating a couple months depending on when we get the actual permits and when we can start. So we're approaching fall into winter. So hopefully it's not a bad winter. There'll be no below grade removal. No in soils will be impacted. I know there were some questions about the water. So we will be placing a barge for any work that is right next to the waterway. We'll have a barge there in case something were to fall off from the land side. It'll land on the barge, not in the river. We use dust boss and water hoses, and as they mentioned, our air monitoring station. Next slide. So all the scrap metal that will be generated will be sent to local scrap recycling centers. We'll be planning to work Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4. The demolition truck traffic comes out the kind of the standard route for the site, which is off Cermak. The truck traffic won't be that heavy. Probably during the peak, maybe 4 or 5 loads a day. We'll inspect the track out, if you will, for the trucks leaving the site, make sure they're not carrying any mud or anything on their tires, and keep it clean, and we'll sweep the road as necessary. And then the last point there is barges will be used along the waterway to prevent anything from entering the waterway. Next slide. So the areas that we demolish will be cleaned. Any openings will be sealed Everything will be left in a safe condition, and that will be the completion of our work for NRG, our Midwest Generation.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. So I'm going to segue us into the next portion of this community meeting, which is of course hearing from community. Let me do a brief overview of how we're gonna move through this process. So we're going to ask people to, if you have a question in person, that you come up to the mic and we will have a timer up. We'll give folks a minute to a minute and a half to ask questions. And then please ensure that you share your name, who your question is directed to, along with I'm sorry, your name and who the question is directed to. Okay, oh, I did not know that, I'm sorry. We already took some folks down who are interested in sharing their feedback, so I'll call their names up. For the folks that are with us virtually, once we are done getting the in-person questions and comments, we will go to the chat and we will read off your questions. So I'm just gonna give us a minute to transition, and then I'll let you know when we are ready to start inviting folks up to the mic to take questions. Thank you. Also, for the people that are with us virtually, please ensure that you type your question into the chat and we will read it off that way specifically, opposed to coming off mute. Thank you. Okay, so we have our timer ready. I'm going to ask our first person to come up. Rosalinda Borsila. And if I mispronounce your name, please correct me on the mic. Thank you.
I'm good. It's all good. Thank you so much. My question is to Commissioner Ige, and it's specifically about the dust control. At the public meeting for the Damon Silos demolition, the same promise of dust control was made, and we were told that CDPH can stop work. It wasn't very clear what's the mechanism by which that happens. Community monitoring at the Damon Silos demolition has provided your office with numerous video examples of what is clearly not mist. It is dust. As those of us who are there can tell, we're not quite that, obtuse in being able to tell the difference. We've also provided video evidence of at least one occasion in which work continued for an hour and a half with absolutely no water being used at all. And we've tried to provide video evidence of dust going directly into the water multiple times. Today I was on the water and I ran my hand over the barrier that's supposed to protect the water, right? That's behind it. And it's covered in dust. You run your hand and your whole hand is full of dust. There is dust everywhere. There's dust on the Damon Bridge. There's dust on all the roads around there. And when we stand there and watch for hours, as we have been doing, we can see where the dust is coming from. We all understand the difference between dust and mist when we're up close, and it's very obvious. And we also, as a resident of McKinley Park, I understand cumulative effects. I understand that there's other areas, right? That there's other pollutants. My daily life is an exercise in the cumulative effects, right? And so precisely because of the cumulative effects, the lack of action by your office, your community hotline was down. We could not call. We tried to call you and leave a message. We could not leave a message. The lack of action by your office, community transparency, lack of offering us the live air quality monitoring data, really it has seemed totally egregious. Like you have not, the office has not proven that it is actually responsive to community concerns and is taking this seriously. Implosion is much worse. When that happened, it was, unspeakable. But the fact that you're not using implosion doesn't mean that dust is minimal.
Thank you for your comments. Commissioner Ige?
Yes. Thank you for sharing your concerns. I have received emails, I have received videos of observations that the communities have seen. We have investigated, to the best of my knowledge, everything that I have received. We have investigated and given a feedback of our findings. If we did not respond to you, I apologize profusely. When communities observe dust or any other thing they're concerned about, we provided, and I don't know if everybody here has the FAQ. We provided a number to call of the inspector, and I'm going to pass it to John so that he can describe to you what happens on site. And in addition to that, 311 is also a way to get to us. So if the hotline is down, I was not aware, so it is a possibility, but these are alternative ways to contact us. I respond to every email, I can assure you that. If I get an email, I'm responding. So we have received videos. We have investigated those videos. There are 3 things that happen when we receive an observation. We looked at the video, we look at the timestamp, we compared with the timestamp and our photos. Because our inspections are on site, like I said, we check the ear monitor. We're tracking PM10. And we check the monitoring data to see if it has exceeded the threshold. We did not say any dust at all will lead to shutdown. If that was not clear, I apologize. We have a threshold, and the threshold is based on the EPA threshold, which is 100 micrograms per cubic meter over a 15-minute period. So we investigate all of that. And again, we work with the contractor to fix if there are problems, if they're not using their water hoses consistently, making sure they're using it. So those are the actions that we take when we get this feedback. Again, making sure we do a thorough review, what is going on. The water dust thing, we have taken samples. Is it dust? Is it something else? I have gone to Damon myself. I know what the condition of the water was before it started. We're tracking. We took the samples. We called IEPA in. We called US Army Corps of Engineers in to come and check the samples. If there is something dangerous in this water, we want you to confirm so that we can take appropriate actions. Those are the things that we have done in response to the concerns that we have had. But if you did not get a response or a feedback in terms of our investigation, I completely apologize for that. But 311 is an alternative way to get to us. And I don't know, John, please share what happens on site. It's one of our.
Okay, so the Army Corps of Engineers granted them, being Hennigan, a free use, free meaning free flow of water a year ago. They have 3 hoses and 2 dust buses going every time I've been out there. Again, my role is certainly not to defend the contractor, but to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. If they were not using water out there for an hour and a half, if they were demolishing, then our inspectors would have to answer that. That didn't happen when I was there. There are times I have been there when they were not using hoses, and that's because they would be grappling metal and things like that. So we're talking about 2 different things. So I can't answer your question right now because I don't know when that hour and a half was, but I am going to tell you that they use a tremendous amount of water because it's free. It's free. So they have.
At 2:30 p.m. we have a timestamp video of all of the activity continuing with no water.
Okay. When we're done, I'll take that note down and I will call you personally about that. As far as the sheen on the water, as Dr. Ige just said, we had 2 water scientists from the Illinois EPA come out to look as well. Just very briefly, does everybody understand the flow of the water from Chicago as it goes downstate? I'm going to tell you very, very briefly, but I have testified to this in front of the U.S. grand jury in details, and everybody sitting where you are was pretty much sleeping by the time we were done. The water comes from Lake Michigan. It flows out of Chicago. If you go down to Joliet and you cross the river, it's really big there. Do you know what about 70% of that water is? Sewage discharge. Everybody's in the communities, they treat their water, it goes into the river, goes down. If you've been to Starved Rock and you see that beautiful river and you see kids swimming in there, you know what they're swimming in? You know. Okay. So what you saw, I'm not trying to negate that there wasn't some discharges into the river. Yes, ma'am, there have been some. I absolutely agree with you. Were they de minimis? That's what I'm saying. They were de minimis. They were small, not to defend the contractor, but it's not 100%. Nothing's 100% when you're doing a demolition. They're doing the best they can. I did not write them a ticket for that because, well, I see you're laughing. I don't know how to address that publicly other than to say, I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's not perfect.
Thank you for your question and response. We're gonna move on to our next commentator. We have Zatali Paez. Thank you.
Hello. Today, I'm representing the Pilsen Environmental Rights and Reform Organization, also known as PERRO, an environmental justice organization in a Hispanic Latina neighborhood. And we are concerned about the potential health and environmental impacts associated with the demolition of the Fisk coal plant at 111 West Cermak Road. Our community has endured decades of environmental racism, and it is clear to us that the current demolition plan will harm the health of people in our community and perpetuate this legacy. We emphasize the importance of transparency, accountability, and community engagement in this demolition process. We are alarmed by the previous demolition at the Crawford coal plant in Little Village, was conducted without proper notice or warning to its residents, lacked necessary safety precautions, and failed to provide residents with personal protective equipment or instructions to stay indoors and keep windows closed. The aftermath saw toxic dust containing metals and organic compounds covering the predominantly Hispanic immigrant neighborhood, all which pose serious health effects, especially to vulnerable populations, such as children, the elderly, and those with pre-existing health conditions. We are alarmed by the practices we are witnessing at the former Damon silo site. Water hoses are ineffective at preventing contaminated dust from spreading out of the site because it's not enough water hoses nor enough spray power. The wrecking ball is not allowing complete dust control. Polluted water runoff has gone into the river and is visibly noticed. Community members have reported health effects such as coughing, dizziness, and finding it hard to breathe. Lastly, air quality data has not been made available in real time. By the time we receive the air quality data, it's already too late to act on any spikes in particular matter. This is unacceptable after CDPH and DOB made promises to our community. In light of these concerns, we demand that the plans to demolish the former Fisk coal plant stop until the concerns from the Damon Silos demolition and the previous Crawford demolition are addressed meaningfully. We also demand that new development decisions of the Fisk site be driven by community, given the decades of harm caused to the local community. We call on the CDPH and all involved stakeholders to ensure that the demolition of the Fisk coal power plant is dismantled piece by piece with complete dust control on and off site. The demolition complies with the highest safety and environmental standards to prevent any release of harmful pollutants into our neighborhoods. The installation of real-time air quality monitors around the demolition sites with and surrounding areas is publicly accessible at a timely manner and prompts action if unsafe levels are detected. Levels should take into account cumulative impacts and citywide bad air quality days, which we did not see at the Damon silos. The demand assessment focused on potential short and long-term health impacts of residents. And the event of any adverse health or environmental impact, we demand that immediate mitigation measures be implemented and affect residents be fairly compensated. We do not trust the judgment of one inspector on site to report violations. We need to see our demands met by the city before the demolition of the former Fisk plant starts. So we cannot even let it start. We stand ready to work collaboratively with community members, with CDPH, city officials, and other stakeholders to protect the health and well-being of our residents.
Thank you. Would anyone like to respond?
Thank you, Zitlali. We have been in conversation, and I have shared with you the thresholds that we use. I don't believe that we at any time said no dust. So that there will. The Damon silo demolition, that there will be, if that was what was taken away, 100% dust control, zero dust control is not the goal. The threshold, I shared with you the particulate matter threshold. I did not create that threshold. There is a threshold that must not be exceeded. So we shared with you the data of the air monitor data that we are looking at, and that it must not exceed this threshold. And we did not at any time observe an exceedant, and we share that data with you. It is true, we don't have real time, and it is because of the volume of data and where would we host it, and we're not doing one demolition at a time. So we haven't yet found an effective way to be able to make it real time, but we have been sharing the data on request. We download it, we share with you with timestamp what the data has been, and I shared with you the reference for what you need to compare it with to say there is an exceedance. I am a doctor. If someone comes to me with a blood pressure of 80/60, they have a blood pressure. If that blood pressure goes to 120, 80, they're at normal blood pressure. If it goes to 130, then I said they're pre-hypertensive. That's when I start to take action so that it doesn't get to 140. If it exceeds 140, I said, can it be controlled with diet and exercise? If it is not controlled, I start prescribing you medication. So it is a very similar analogy. I am seeing dust, this dust is getting worrisome, add some more water. If I'm able to control it, then we're good. Cumulatively, if it keeps repeating itself, it's getting close to that threshold, bring it down, we correct it, we're good. If we have a sudden, and it is more than this 100 micrograms per cubic meter, then it's like we have to stop everything now so that we can control it. So if that didn't come across as the process, I apologize. We'll do a better job with communicating so that there is a shared understanding. It is very, very difficult for me to say that there will be zero dust or zero. Some of the data that we share with you is 0.06, 0.01. We have our threshold is 100 micrograms per cubic meter over a 15-minute period, and then we work to correct it. So this is the reason why we have community meetings, so that we can continue to have this conversation. You hold us accountable, you're watching, you see something, the last conversation we had is like, see something, I call my inspector, what the hell is going on? Go and check your timestamp. Are you seeing this thing? Take the samples, let's see what's going on. I don't want to hear tomorrow that there is dust. That is my job. Make sure my folks and you are doing your job, which is holding us accountable. And like, I am seeing this thing, check it out, talk to your people. And we always do. That's what I have promised you to do, and we will continue to do that. Anyone who wants the air monitoring data, we share with weekly with the older Manic office so that they can share it with community members who are requesting it. We will continue to work on how we can host these large volumes of data, because it's real time, multiple monitors, is 4 monitors at a time, and each one is like multiple pages of data. So those are the limitations that we have. It's not perfect. You have asked for more staffing. We have elevated that request. When there is an inspector on site and they're there all day, that means they can't do anything else. So we have, how many facilities that require air pollution permits? I know it's more than 200. And we have 3 inspectors. So our commitment to have one staff staying there all day means that everything else is on hold, but that is our commitment. That we'll be able to deploy more staff based on the city's limited resources right now. It is not something that I know when we will be able to do that, but because there's two inspectors, we are supporting each other in that way. So I cannot say when we will be able to have more inspectors, but we have, you know, two inspectors there, so that it's not just one department who's looking at these things. They know what we look out for, and if we see something, they flag for us. If they see something, they flag for us, and we'll continue to respond to your questions and provide answers as best as we can.
I appreciate your answer. I just want to make one slight correction that we did see the levels go beyond the threshold on the bad air quality days, and we did not see work stop. A whole building was demolished in those bad air quality days. And they are saying that they don't know what to attribute it to. And for the air quality data, we understand that these are massive files. We are just asking for on a timely manner. So we should not be receiving them after the demolition is done. Then the harm is done. What are we supposed to do?
Right. So that we'll do a better job of getting it to you. We'll share it weekly now on Wednesdays. So we can work on an arrangement of when will be a better time to get it to you. And in terms of exceeding the threshold on poor air quality days,
The smoke was. Okay.
talk about this.
So if I talked to the air company, their monitors are new and they are very expensive, and we were coming down on them pretty hard because of the data you were telling us about. Their claim is that those were air action days with the Canadian smoke. And again, if we want to off at the end of the evening, I'm more than happy to go into that with you. I do want to make one mention though, folks, because again, we're on your side. We truly are. We work for the city. We're all environmentally into it. That's why we're here. So last Friday, if you're familiar with the silos, especially some of the folks who've lived here a long time, they had a conveyor system all across the top of building number 1 that's right on the river. They had conveyors to move the grain, to move the sand, to move whatever was in there. That became lodged. Instead of going east to west, it became lodged going north to south. I've got tons of photos of it. It became extremely dangerous because it was hanging over the river. This young lady here saw what I'm talking about. These men are fearless, okay? So what they had to do is they had to take this, where the wrecking ball, they had to take that off and they had to put a grabber on that and hold up that piece along the river. The operator could not even see what he was doing. This was all done by hand signals and cell phones. So he's holding up this elevator that's now hanging over potentially the river. And then they had to bring one of those excavators, you know, the things that cut it up. They call it the chopper. He had to start bringing it back to him. The weight was so heavy that the whole excavator started to list forward. Now, if that listed forward, he would have been crushed. So they voluntarily slowed it down. They told us what was going on. We brought out 2 building inspectors and 2 health inspectors. So we had 4 inspectors out there all day Friday, 4 at a time. 1 on the east, 1 on the west, for both departments. Buildings is watching to make sure that excavators don't go over the side. We're watching to make sure that nothing goes into the river. And we're also trying to keep our mouths shut so these brave men can do their job. They got the whole piece off. They got the whole conveyor off. It's sitting in the yard right now. It was absolutely amazing. Amazing that they got that done. Nothing went in the river whatsoever. There's plenty of debris still down by the river. I'm not going to say there's not, but there's nothing in the river.
So we share all of that to say that they know that there will be a price to pay if something goes wrong. We have our reputation at risk. I come to this meeting and I say, oh, we're going to do this. And so if something goes wrong, and this is why government is about accountability, our interests, we're the ones responsible for monitoring the health impact of Chicagoans. We were the ones who started the process of cumulative impact because we're interested in safeguarding the health of Chicagoans. We have a health atlas that's tracking health outcomes. So we truly, genuinely want Chicago to be a healthy city. And we want people to be safe from respiratory, impact of this. So I don't want to see anything toxic going into homes And that is why we're interested in this. If we wanted to sneak under the table and not report anything, there are very easy ways to do that. And these are tough conversations we have with you all the time. You challenge us, you demand hard things from us, but we're committed to it. And we have the back and forth because, again, that is our job, to make sure that you understand what it is we're doing. I tell you, Zitlali, sometimes I said, you may not like my answer, but I will always respond. And I will show you where I got my information from and what data I'm using and where the threshold came from and what the code says. So always showing you how we arrived at our decision. You may not like that decision, but I will show you my working. It is slow. I acknowledge it's not always real time, but we will continue to work on that. And I put that in an email to you saying that we will continue to work on it. And like I promised the air sensors, I said, we will work on it. It will take time, but we did it. So we are going to get to a place where we can make this data real time. We're just working with the technical folks to figure it out. But in the meantime, request and we will get it to you.
Thank you. Thank you for those meaningful comments. I know that we still have a few folks on the in-person list. Just in the interest of time, I'm not going to fully transition to the virtual questions, but I am going to read a few of the ones with short answers off so that the folks on the panel can respond, and then we will transition back into the in-person questions. So the first question we have is, it is directed towards the contractor. Are you still with us on the panel? Paul?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So one of the questions we have is, if not answered by the slides, why isn't the main building being demolished?
Well, that's really a question for NRG Midwest Generation. The scope of work that we were awarded doesn't include the main structures. It's only for the 13 pieces.
The other question we have is, what is the operating status of the main building going forward?
Hi, this is Phil. I can answer that. So the 122-year-old coal plant retired in 2012. So the main power plant hasn't generated electricity since 2012. However, the site is an active critical infrastructure for our electrical grid. Commonwealth Edison has a distribution substation that provides electrical power into the communities, both on the north and south side of the river. There's transmission lines that go under the river and supply electrical energy to the community. It actually powers your house. Those transmission lines terminate at the Fisk site. Commonwealth Edison also operates a transmission substation, which interconnects with other substations and power plants on the grid. And that basically brings the power into the Fisk site so that it can be distributed to your homes and businesses. NRG operates a combustion turbine peaking plant at the Fisk site. There's still a combustion turbine peaking plant that's used. It's rarely used, but it is used at times when the electrical grid is stressed and there's insufficient supply on the grid to supply the power. The PJM, the transmission system operator, will dispatch the plant, and we'll start the plant up and bring the units online to provide power. And that power goes right into the 12 kV distribution system and feeds the community. I know there's another question in the grid about why we're taking stuff down, and I guess I'll just continue on. So we have chosen to remove some of the equipment. I know we're here for a demolition permit, but we're really not taking any buildings down. We're removing equipment that was used to support operation of the retired coal plant. The equipment that was selected to be removed, as you'll notice, is all along it's either tanks and silos that aren't used. There's a barge unloader, a 75-year-old barge unloader that's cantilevered over into the slip. And then we have pipes and tanks along the south branch of the river. We want to remove that equipment to prevent it from causing any future safety issues. The equipment is structurally sound now, as mentioned. We do routine inspections of that equipment, but we want to get ahead of it. All of these structures are made out of steel. We all know what happens to steel in Chicago during the winters. It corrodes. So the equipment hasn't been used in 13 years. It's never going to be used again. So we want to remove it. Regarding the main coal plant, that's a very complicated demo. There's a lot of structure both above and below grade. We have not figured out what we're going to do with that property yet where the coal plant is. So we have not elected to do any major demo on the coal plant. So the coal plant's not coming down, but all the equipment outside and around the coal plant is coming down because we know for a fact that'll never be used again. So I hope I answered the questions. We chose Brandenburg as our demo contractor because they have the appropriate safety and environmental standards to do this job safely. We've used them at various other power plants within the Midwest Generation fleet. We've also used them at Fisk. They were at Fisk last year removing the silo that was leaning on the south end of the property. They did that safely without any environmental issues. And, the health and safety of the public is our number one priority, as it well is with our Brandenburg contractor. And we want to make sure that we do this safely.
Thank you. Another question we have in the virtual space is there a wind limit for working to either CDPH or DOB?
What?
Is there a wind limit for working? Yes, wind.
We have.
And as you're turning to your page, if you could use the mic, Commissioner Ige.
Yeah.
Oh, they're asking, repeat the question.
The actual number, but
And I have the question recorded, and we know who asked in the chat, so we can follow up with you.
yes.
Oh, you asked in, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
for the wind limit, because the wind direction is a very important consideration.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for your question. I'm noting that since you're here in person, at the end of the meeting, we can follow up with you in person once we get that specific number for you, okay? Thank you. And then also for CDPH, how are we making the data from the air monitoring stations be publicly available, and what exactly is being monitored?
So, what is being monitored is particulate matter 10. It is larger than particulate matter 2.5, which is soot, very fine. When you look at the hair on your head, smaller than the diameter of the hair, that's 2.5. 10 is a little bigger because again, we're doing construction, so it's not fine dust, it's like coarse. So that's what we're monitoring, PM10. The thresholds for what we call national air quality standards is what we use. That's the threshold for when you start to see health effects. That's what we use as the threshold. Once you start getting over that threshold, it's like, okay, we're worried about health impacts, let's get it down. 100 micrograms per cubic meter over a 15-minute period is the threshold that we must not exceed. If it exceeds that, we have to stop the demolition until it comes down below that before they can continue. So how we can make it real time. So these are monitors that are on tripods at locations that are installed. They're Tusk, what's the brand of the monitors? So the data is linked to a computer. We have to download it. Tell us the.
So Hennigan has an independent contractor out who does the air monitoring. He is out there at 7 o'clock every morning with us. He sets them up in 4 different locations, east, west, north, south, based on the wind speed and the wind direction. But he does get it from all 4 sides. Every day I get a download at the end of the day from the senior superintendent for the company. And that is shared with all the managers. If you just look at it and if you don't have the background, it's just a lot of numbers. It'll say a time, it'll say 0.003, 0.001, micrograms, milligrams, blah, 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 right down the sheets. We're glad to put that on the website, and hopefully we can get some explanations there too, so that it means something to you. But that's how that's set up.
So it is a little tricky. It's not like the regulatory air monitors that I install connected to a computer that can be online and that can be just feed and you're seeing it real time. We're not that sophisticated yet. We're just a local health department. We're not IEPA. So it's still a manual process of downloading and printing and attaching it to an email and sending it to you right now. So we're trying to figure out what are the options to make this available, but the real-time component is a little tricky for the moment.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one more question and I'll transition back to the in-person questions. So this question asked, sorry, I just lost the one. How are we making the data from the air monitoring stations be publicly available? Oh, I'm sorry, that was the one I asked. Your monitoring strategy follows that at the Damon silos. You are reporting now that they have been very responsive, and it is good to see it used again here. However, the monitoring system at the Damon site shows clear indication of higher levels of PM 2.5 and PM 10 downwind, indicating incomplete dust suppression. How will this be done better in the future for this setting?
Yes. If it exceeds, we work with them to bring it down, so it is not sustained. National air quality standards, 24-hour threshold, annual thresholds are the ways we track if we're off compliance. So our goal is not wait until we have 24 hours cumulative impact. It's like if we see an exceedance, we bring it down. So on the poor air quality days, you will see that it was not sustained. There was ambient pollution from the smoke, which means all over the city, we're issuing the same guidance whenever there's poor air quality days. Most of the poor air quality days in Chicago is based on smokes and wildfire. We encourage people who are sensitive to take appropriate precautions. We encourage everybody on your phone at any time to look at airgov.now, airnow.gov, which is a way for you to track what the air quality is in your community all the time. So it's one thing for us to say, this is what the monitors are saying on site. What is most important, I think, for people to know is that if I'm walking on the road, what is the air quality in my community? So it's not what is happening just on site, it's what is coming out to my community. And if there is poor air quality day, whether it's from wildfire or whatever, the directives are the same. Take precautions, limit the time that you spend outside, or wear face masks to reduce exposure, etc. So those are the instructions that come with poor air quality days now. But there is also a way for people to track what is happening beyond what the air monitors are saying, which is on your phone every time. And that is the high grade monitors that are the official monitors that say what is happening in Chicago. So those are ways to compare what is happening. So it's not just me saying, oh, we are not seeing exceedances going into a community. You can also see what is happening in the community on your phone right now. We're complementing that data so that we can get even more granular. But right now, airnow.gov, you can see if your zip code has poor air quality or not. That's also another way to know if you need to take additional precautions or not, or if something is coming to your community that is concerning.
Thank you. So as we transition back into in-person comments, up next we have Layla Mendez, but I do want to ask for us to respond to, are public reports available on the now concluded asbestos abatement, hazardous waste removal and disposal, and lead inspection?
No.
No,
Not normally, no.
not normally. So we don't normally upload it on the website. We review it and we say yes or no. And the lead inspection, we also do that. We go and check and see that the the lead is abated and asbestos. So we have the asbestos inspector as CDPH staff. So that's what they do. They go and check and do the inspection as well.
Thank you. Leila Mendez, you can transition to the mic. After this, we'll have Dorian Brewer.
Leila Mendez, Pilsen resident and also a proud member of Perro. I became involved with Perro in 1990 after I was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive tumor. I did not know why I had that. And after joining the organization, this wonderful organization, I realized that it was due to the coal plant contaminants, okay? So we worked hard, we shut it down in 2012, praise the Lord, we shut it down, okay? I was so stressed out, I stepped away. And we have wonderful leadership here, as you can see, that continued on the work. But I just found out about what's going on. So I came to the meeting, I've talked to Citlali, I've talked to the other members, and I'm very concerned, okay? Now I have stage 1 breast cancer and I have emphysema and I've never smoked, never worked in a factory. I avoid secondhand smoke wherever I go. I told the doctor, could it be that I'm here 2 blocks away? She said, that's definitely why you have emphysema. We can't prove the cancer, but you all know the emphysema. Yes, okay? I'm 67 years old. I'm tired. I came here and I was getting very disheartened there because all I'm hearing is, I'm sorry, and the water quality in the river. What about the children that are just a few blocks away from here? The children that come here, the high schoolers. Okay, what about them? Nobody's talking about the people, the human beings that are being affected. Okay, what I am asking, and I don't want to be back here. I'm tired. I'm very tired and I'm holding my tears and I'm angry too. And those of them that know me know I have a temper, okay? When I see an injustice. What I want, this is what I'm asking, and I'm gonna fight for it. I'm back on board and I've got my boxing gloves on and we're gonna fight. What I'm asking for, because you do not seem prepared to do this demolition. I keep hearing, no, well, they're new, or I keep hearing excuses, okay? And I know you're trying your hardest. I can see that. You're trying your hardest. But what I'm gonna fight for now is to stop the demolition until you're really sure how to do it properly, because I am not confident in that. And I could leave. I told you, I could pack up and leave. I have the money, thank you God, to leave. But I have a conscience and I can't do that. So I'm here to fight for the children, the people of all ages, seniors like me that have been affected, and for the people that have died. I'm doing it in their memory because I came close to it, but I'm still kicking and I'm going to keep kicking and I'm going to keep screaming until I feel confident that this demolition can go on. Right now it cannot, so I'm going to fight. I do not want the demolition to start in December or whatever day you said. So we're going to continue talking because this meeting would have been filled up, but half of the community didn't even know about it. I found out it the day before. So I can't trust you. There's no transparency. I don't trust you. So we're going to fight and they're with me. We're all together in this. And there's more of us. There's more of us. Okay. So that's what I'm asking. Halt the demolition. You are not ready to do it properly. There are lives at stake. Children, little children who've just started living. Some of them have developed brain cancer. I just found out from a mom. So think about those people. Forget about the river. I know the river is important. I know that. But right now it's more lives. Wouldn't you agree? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate your feedback. Next we have, oh, did you want to respond? No. Okay.
We will talk.
Yeah.
You know, the way this. Trust is not something that we can prescribe or write a prescription for. So I acknowledge the concerns. We'll continue to talk in terms of what I am required to do, what I am able to do. My colleague and I, we talk about what the code allows us to do, what I have authority to do. So the three things that I'm authorized to do is when an application comes to me, I review it
An application, I'm sorry, for what?
for demolition. The application, I want to demolish a building. It goes to Commissioner Hopkins. They send it to us to review. We say, is this close to the river? Is it not close to the river? If it's environmentally complex, we need to let the community know that this is what we do. What we do, we check for lead, we've checked for asbestos, and then we check, air monitoring.
I heard all
Tho-
of that.
those are the things that are in my power,
I know.
So those,
But there's more. I never believed that. Don't ever tell me it can't be done. Don't ever tell me that's the rules, because I'll break the rules. I'll do whatever I have to save lives. God kept me alive for a reason. I'm serious. And I'm going to fight. I understand because you're all employees and I respect you and I thank you for your service. And I know you're limited, but we are not limited. We don't work for anyone. So we're gonna fight, and we don't want the demolition until we're sure. And we are not convinced that you know what you're doing yet. Okay? There's the tractor.
Thank you. Next, I'm inviting Dorian Brewer up.
Greetings. Hi,
Hello.
Dorian Brewer, former resident here, heard about this situation. I actually have 4 questions, but the first one, the main one is, I heard that you tested for 2 things, lead and asbestos. Did you test for anything else? Okay. Well, among our concerns are that this is a coal-fired power plant that you're aware of. And in coal-fired power plants, part of why we in the community and around the city work to shut down this coal plant is because there are multiple heavy metals that result. You said the toxic waste, but you apparently didn't test for toxic waste. But for example, chromium, mercury, arsenic, cadmium, selenium, and lead are all part of what happens in moving coal around, burning it, and the dust for that thing was operating for 120 years. So you did not test for a whole list of toxic, highly deadly chemicals on site. You don't know if it's there because you didn't test for it. You don't know if it's going to be in the dust that gets away. There's a certain allowable amount of dust, but you don't know what's going to be in that dust because you're not even testing for those metals in your monitoring, because you're just monitoring for little particles of whatever they're made of. Am I right? So there is nothing in what you have mentioned is appropriate for a coal-fired power plant location with high toxic metals on site. And this isn't just a rando member of the public saying this. This is and one of the questions was, what kind of soil testing has been done on site? Because it's been documented that on these sites of coal-fired power plants, all these metals that we just talked about are deposited because they fall from the stack close to where the stack is. And one of the reasons that these plants were attacked by the community is the studies show the closer you lived to them, the more these heavy metals were falling on the communities where they were located, which is crazy. Why do we have a facility like that 200 feet from this building, which is where children were playing, as Layla talked about? The plan that you have presented, whether it's by code or what have you, is completely inappropriate for the use of that facility and for what is expected to, what seems likely to be even whatever dust might be allowable per US EPA standards or whatever level of EPA. We don't know the toxicity of that dust. So a dust in a random brick building in the middle of the city used like a residential building, and this facility are like night and day. We can't treat them the same way. They must not be. There has to be a way to test for those metals I think you're going to find them. We, community members, did soil testing all around the H. Kramer facility, which is like a triangle here of about 300 feet of toxic triangle where we're standing, the coal plant and H. Kramer. We found elevated levels that in some cases were 90,000 times above the EPA allowable level in the soils next to these facilities where kids were playing. So that is the kind of questions we have to say. It's not good enough to say, well, the ordinance says PM 10 and maybe some dust will get out. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers. None of it is heavy metals, that the community that has already been breathing these heavy metals will be further impacted. It's inappropriate. We need a different plan before there's something that could give these folks some confidence. I mean, there's 3 other questions, but I see there's no more time on the. I mean, the other questions really quick are, well, I don't know about that, but are you able to make a copies of the presentation available? Is that?
They will be posted on the website, right?
Great.
Chris? Can I ask real quickly, just in the respect of time, is Ajay and Kate okay with him continuing? I just want to respect the other questions that are in the audience. Those are the last 2 questions we have in the audience. Okay. And then we have
Okay.
the follow-up to your question. Go ahead. Thank you.
So the presentation, thank you. And then the other question was, like if you've heard of something called a purple air monitor, which is about, I think, $500 or something, and it has live internet connected data. I mean, for, like, let's have a parallel one of those next to those monitors or something. It's just a little shocking that in 2025, right, that there's like, we can't get something like internet connected, but that was about the timing of it, but I already made the comment about what we're actually monitoring on those monitors. The last one is, it has, given the concerns about the heavy metals, if there's been any kind of provision for water runoff from this, these hoses going. It's even different from the Damon silos. We're talking heavy metals. We can virtually guarantee you're going to find crazy elevated levels of these heavy metals on site. So let's find out what they are, and let's get extra protections for both the dust and the water for this community. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 1 minute left. So did you have a response?
I was just gonna say, yeah, there's no doubt what you're saying. We understand that too. In my interpretation of what was gonna come off was not gonna go to soil grade, but I may be very wrong on that. So if they are gonna be getting into the soil, I love what you just asked, because that does need to be investigated much more thoroughly. And I believe that they were going to put absorbent socks. Do you know what those are? The big white tube things. The river was going to be covered with that, because again, we're going to be very cautious about anything going near the water. But I love your question. I really do. And that's going to absolutely need more discussion with us.
The dust is dust, right? And it's dust from 100 years of.
Yes, I know that most of the 13 structures being demolished does not include the main coal plant, and it's mostly metal. But we can consult with IEPA and see what they can do. We don't have capacity for that. It's not within the scope of what we do, but we can see if others are able to help and support and see what they can do.
So if you can delay the demolition.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
delay the demolition until you do a good job. Delay it.
We will see.
No, just start to delay it. I'm giving you the.
Well, let us give you the assurance that the permits have not been issued. So no work can begin until the demolition permit is issued. It is not. We are required to conduct these meetings to engage with the community, to get your feedback, to hear your input, as well as an opportunity for us to go back to have further conversations with the contractor regarding issues or concerns that have come as a result of the community. As stated, they are required to provide different documentation to both of our departments. I'm looking at the structural conditions. I'm looking at the method of which they're doing the actual demolition. Dr. Ige's team is looking at their abatement. She's looking at their dust mitigation plan. She's looking at all of the things that have the potential to impact the environment as well as the community. And if there are any questions that are left unanswered, they have to be answered before she gives me the approval memo that they have complied with all of her code requirements that then will enable me to issue the demolition permit. So that is a lot of the changes that we've made to the process to ensure that we both are demonstrating to you, the community, that we are committed to ensuring your safety and well-being whenever there is a demolition involving any of these complex demos before those permits are issued. We want to ensure that all of the proper safeguards are in place.
Thank you all for coming out today. I do apologize for the questions that we did not get to. I know that we need to loop back to the question about the.
You started late, we're going late,
We can,
you know,
Are you,
this is like life and death.
so I was about to loop back up into the when question and ask if we had a response to that. If you all are okay with staying, I'm perfectly fine with us going to the last couple of questions. The next person that we had on the list was is it a J? AJ?
Yeah, thank you. I just have a few quick questions. I can just do like maybe rapid fire and then y'all can answer after. Question number one was, where does the demolition rubble and metals go? We saw a Heineken truck going into the Sims Metal Management Company, which is a known polluter and has multiple environmental violations in the neighborhood and has actually gotten sued. Yeah, so they've been taking it from the Damon Silo site. So where's the stuff going to go? Second question I had was, can those detailed reports about asbestos, lead, and chemical remediation be made public? The slideshow said that I believe it was asbestos and chemicals were remediated and lead were remediated.
So lead inspection completed, not lead
Not
remediation done.
Okay,
So we go and inspect for lead, we go and inspect for asbestos. If there's no asbestos, we say completed. Our inspection shows there's no asbestos, there's no lead. So those reports, our inspection reports can be made public, right? It's uploaded.
That's property of the contractors. We review them. I don't know what the legal, I don't want to just say I'm going to go and have Midwest's environmental report put on there because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing and find out that that's not legal to do. But I absolutely write it down and we'll find out, okay?
all right, thank you. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, and I had another quick question too. This is directed to NRG or Midwest Generation. That's I think on the call still. There are numerous articles written around 2020 that talked about how Hilco was in talks to buy the site, and this is even confirmed by the former alderperson that they had some sort of private economic agreement to develop on the site, and they were planning to build a 350,000 square foot data center. Yeah, we want to know, like, is that still a plan that's going on?
I will start with the debris transportation, where that goes. So the scrap laydown and loading area will be located adjacent to the demolition area. The ferrous scrap will be shipped to a scrap metal recycler. Trucks.
Which one?
I will get the name for you. I don't know the specific location. Trucks. So Brandenburg, can they share where they are planning to take the scrap metal?
So we haven't made that final determination. It's a commodity. It's based on pricing. So it could go to several outlets in the region. But we don't have until we know when the demo is happening, we don't know that answer yet.
Was that all the parts of your question?
Yes, and then you asked a question about in 2020, there was an agreement. I'm sorry, can you repeat that quickly?
Yeah, that was directed to NRG Energy. I don't know if they're still on the call.
Do you mind repeating the question in full, just to make sure that we're?
Yeah, in 2020, there's around 4 articles written that talk about a private economic agreement between Hilco, the people that did the that bought Crawford, partnering up with Midwest Generation to do a partial demolition, as they're stating here, while keeping the peaker plant running and developing the site that's being demolished, what we're talking about here, in order to install a 350,000 square foot data center. These proposals were made to the alder people and city council, and the former alderperson confirmed that the proposal was finalized. So I'm asking about the status of that, because the presentation said that there's no development plans. So there seems like an incongruency here.
Hi, I can answer that question. As I stated, it's currently an operating plant. It's still an operating distribution and transmission substation. Regarding future plans for development, I have no knowledge of any agreement that you're talking about.
Thank you. And then Kate?
Hi. So I would like to actually mention a couple of things that went well lately that I think could be informative for this project. And I would like a sidebar with both commissioners about something I was talking to Dr. Ige about earlier today, if you don't mind. So things that went well this week. Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Kate. Kate Eakin, McKinley Park Development Council. Wanted to make sure everybody who still lives in Pilsen got to go first. I live across the street in McKinley Park, and we are working with Perro on the improvements to Canal Origins Park and other issues in the neighborhood that we share, the spaces that we share. So this, one of the things that we've been working on this week is in working with EPA to set requirements for remediation of a Superfund site on the other side of the river. And EPA voluntarily offered to allow community groups to post their own air monitors on the site. So I would just suggest that maybe we could do likewise here. Also, another thing that wasn't hard this week, there was a dust issue at the Karis Cold Storage construction site, and we didn't have to call any of you because their construction manager gave out their phone number to community groups, and I called him, and 10 minutes later he called me back and said, yes, we have a dust bus coming out right now, and that was it. So I would also like to encourage NRG, Midwest Generation, and Brandenburg to do likewise, because it doesn't have to be this hard. So most of my actual questions are actually for Brandenburg and NRG. Starting with some of the things that you're removing, I would like to know how much is metal and how much is other materials. From the pictures, it looks like you have a lot of metal.
Yes, correct. It's primarily metal. The
Okay, and what are some of the other
tanks.
materials that you will be removing? Are we talking about like concrete, wood?
Really, there's a small garage that has some wood, but the primarily it's metal.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk is specifically about the catwalk. I understand why you would want to remove that, but I would also like to make you aware that the Chicago Harbor Safety Committee is working on safe egress for boaters in the water, and you have one of the very few egresses in this section of the river. And it looks like you plan to remove it. So I would like to have a conversation with you about what we could do. I understand that you don't want just anybody climbing up onto this property for a lot of reasons, but if there is something else that could be replaced or part of it that could remain where it's at, just to allow boaters to get out of the water in case of emergency and not get hit by a barge. My next question is about the long-term plans for the building. I understand you said repeatedly that you don't have any. We, as a community group, have worked with a number of landowners and operators to pursue creative reuse projects here. And the reality is you've got a really cool building over there, like with some amazing masonry work, and it's got a lot of historic value. And we would like to work with you and to help engage with neighbors and probably also our partners in Preservation Chicago and some others to discuss the future of these buildings, which we hope will not include demolition. It is one thing to remove the mechanical components of another thing. It is another thing to remove its history. And the reality is this is a thing that was here, that it happened, and it can have another life. And we would like to see that happen in a way that benefits the community. And so I'd like to know who we could engage on that subject.
Yeah, you could leverage me, work through me. I can get your contact
Okay.
information and we can have a discussion.
All right. Thank you. And then my last question, I think, is about it's just about the timing of all of this. I want to say we are very concerned about the prospect of having 3 major projects on the riverfront within a mile at the same time. And so, at a minimum, a lot of people have said, we don't want this now because we don't think it's ready. I also think it is wise to space these out to give all of us a break. We are all having Groundhog Day. We are all doing this over and over every day, no matter who's sitting where. And I think we could all use a breather. And so I would ask if this project could potentially be one that gets moved back a bit later so that we can handle the silos and the Superfund remediation and this, and I'll go home and sleep at night. So.
Thank you for your feedback. There was one final question in the chat that's asking Commissioner Hopkins if you could speak to, community is hearing that there's a moratorium on implosions, and they would like some feedback or information on that.
Sure. So in 2020, Municipal Code Provision 2-30-020 was passed by City Council, placing a moratorium on use of explosive for demolition of buildings and or structures, making it unlawful for any department or agency to issue a permit for the use of explosives. And that moratorium remains in place. The departments of OEMC, buildings, business affairs and consumer protection, Department of Public Health, Fire Department, Department of Transportation, and Department of Water Management did work collaboratively to establish rules and regs for the use of explosives, but the moratorium on the use remains in place to date.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know you came in later into the meeting. Can you give me your name? Do you have an additional question along? Okay, could you come up to the mic so that they can hear you? And then Alderman will close us out.
I live on Carpenter Street. Thank you to everyone who's coming today. I was watching at home on Zoom, and when I heard a few things, I was alarmed by what I heard. So I just wanted to ask a few questions. I was alarmed at first by the first speaker who spoke how this is a complex demolition. And then I was happy that you mentioned it's by the river, but there's no mention of people or residents. And that was really alarming. Is there a time frame on the removal of the debris, either at the end of the project or daily? Because I know it's going to pile up. And then is there?
Debris management, the contractor, can you speak to that?
Sure. So as we say, bring down a structure, a steel conveyor, then we'll cut that up. And as we generate a truckload, then we'll ship it off. So it would be ongoing during the demolition. We don't make big piles and then do it at the end. It'll happen as we go.
So after the 2 months, we should assume it will be done within a few days or something like that.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, what I would say is that at the end of the project, the site will be remediated and left on without any debris. They are continuously removing material from the site daily. They don't allow it to accumulate and then do the sorting at the very end. It's an ongoing process.
And just one last one that hopefully seems relevant is we've spoken about all the 15, 14 different little pieces of the project and mentioned that the large structure is going to remain. But I didn't hear anyone speak about if all these other things are cleared away and that is remaining, is what, if anything, is going to be done to secure that building? And that's all. Thank you for all your time today.
And you were also the person asked about the wind speeds, right?
Yes.
15 miles per hour.
15,
yes. So
15.
when sustained wind speeds are at 15 miles per hour or greater, measured by the on-site weather station, that's when any inactive piles will be maintained adequately to contain dust and debris.
And for actual demolition work, we will stop the work if the sustained winds exceed 15 miles per hour or the wind gusts exceed 25 miles per hour. So both departments have requirements with the various wind speeds of when we are going to stop any work that's in progress.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you for that information. It's when you're on here. But securing that final building, no one spoke to that.
Well, it sounds as if, and I think
can-
NRG can speak more, but. it
Yeah, I
sounds
can
like
answer
there's
that.
A lot of activity coming out of that main building to support ComEd's infrastructure.
Yes, I can answer that question. So as I mentioned, the site is still an active part of the essential electrical infrastructure for the city of Chicago. There's security presence there. The site is locked. Unauthorized access is not allowed. Security cameras are up. So people can't get, the public cannot get onto the site. Regarding the building is locked down. The doors are locked. You can't get in there.
Thank you for that response. As I invite Alderman to the stage to give some closing remarks, I do want to let everyone know that if you would like to see some written information on the environmentally complex demolition and learn more about demolition permits, you can go to chicago.gov/complex demolitions. You can also learn more about asbestos and lead hazards in demolition and renovation projects at chicago.gov/asbestos LEAD. And I'm going to pass it over to Alderman to close this out. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Ige and Commissioner Hopkins for being here. I appreciate you all. And thank you for all the residents for coming. It was very important for us to be able to hear directly from the testimonies of residents have been affected by the operation of these polluters in our neighborhood for a long time. Environmental racism has been the norm in our neighborhoods. This particular site has a history in particular or polluting our neighborhood without any accountability. If you ask me, what is the price to keep our water and our air clean? My answer will be that these companies, no matter how deep of pockets they have, they could not pay how precious is clean air and clean water today, given the fact that the federal government has completely and today effectively is guarding agencies that are supposed to protect us. So in that sense and in that line, it is today more important because I think in my experience, we have not been able to rely on state authorities either. It's EPA, or agencies that are supposed to protect our water and air have failed us for a long time. That's just a fact. And today we have an opportunity to change that. And there are fundamental questions that we must continue. So as a representative of the community, I urge us to hold this permit, to take our time and take this as an opportunity to change the legacy. To me, I find it very problematic that we have a corporation. I've been alderman for 6 years. And yes, I do not take money from polluters because I know what that history has been or paid to play. That history has stained us and has caused high rates of asthma, high rates of cancer, or family members and friends. I am also a father of 3 children who live nearby the industrial corridor. And I have a responsibility not only with my children and my family, but every single one of people who are here, including one of my friends who I actually lived with for a while that is here with me today, who also have been victim and have been sick of this, unfortunately, operations that have been normalized. We have been what I call sacrifice zones. We have been sacrifice zones. We have been the dumping grounds of industry. What is happening in the Damon silos also, in my opinion, could have been prevented because we are getting little pieces and little pieces and little pieces. But I find it hard to believe that corporations that start doing work do not have a large or a long-term plan. I find it hard to believe. And this is a call for action to also hold these corporations and these polluters accountable. We must have full disclosure of what actually the plans for this site. I think that here we have a good set of demands. I've received this so for the record. So, and part of that is that what will be developed in this site? We're already doing work here, but yet we are not able to see what is the long-term plan. I think that that is unacceptable. I also think that the future plans to demolish the coal stack and other questions have not been answered. But I tell you that there are things that we can do. One is taking our time so we have real community engagement. so that we don't take your time. I felt that this meeting was rushed. We're dealing with a lot of stuff in our communities, a lot of issues in our neighborhoods. We have to be here because the companies dictate even the timing to do things. And I think that these companies owe this community in particular at least the decency to have good communication with us. That they owe to our neighborhood, to be able to sit down with our constituents, with our local representatives, and discuss with transparency what is the long-term plan. What are they doing? And that we have the opportunity to change that legacy. The last thing I'll say is that I fully support the cumulative impact ordinance, the Hazel-Johnson, in despite of the challenges, because that is action to move forward. So today I asked the commissioners, we also had the reuse task force program that some of these task force had not even met. I don't know for how long. So this is a time to re-engage with this task force. There, as you see, people who are ready to work with us. And it starts also with the company, because even though they push forward with this permit, we have the right to say, we are going to take our time. This is the time that we got to protect our families, because we know that the federal government, and I'll say clearly and openly, the state government also is not here to protect us. We have a new Department of the Environment, we have a new mayor, and I'm hoping that this is an opportunity to change the legacy of environmental racism, of inaction, and zero community engagement. They used to operate by right in our neighborhoods, but but having money doesn't give the right to pollute and to get people sick. That is not the right either. So to NRG, I hope from this point on that we have better communication, that we communicate, and that these permits should not be approved until we have a real serious conversation about the short and long-term plans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for being patient at the beginning as we were getting started and getting our tech issues figured out. We appreciate you all for coming out. We appreciate CDPH for scheduling this meeting a few weeks ago to keep community engaged, and we do appreciate you coming out into an in-person form, and we apologize that it was at a later notice. And we really appreciate Dvorak Park for giving us this space today to be able to host some of you in person. And we look forward to continue collaborating to protect this community and prioritize this community as we also deal with environmentally complex demolitions. Be safe. Have a good rest of your night.